I'm Nic Harcourt for AKG Stories Behind the Sessions with Lisa Loeb. Lisa is a Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, radio host, actor, author, producer, and entrepreneur. She launched her career with the platinum-selling hit Stay, I Missed You from the 1994 film Reality Bites, becoming the first artist to have a #1 single without a recording contract. She followed with hits like Do You Sleep and I Do, and has released 15 albums, 2 of which are certified gold. Lisa is also beloved by parents and kids for her children's albums and illustrated books with music. Lisa joins us today to talk about her career and how the song Stay was recorded twice. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So lovely to actually speak to you in a professional situation, because we've met across the years in various personal situations, I think, right?
Yes, and I've listened to you a ton on the radio. You're like a tastemaker.
So 2 questions to start. First of all, can I ask you a little bit about growing up in Dallas and your earliest musical memories? And I believe that the piano was your first instrument. How did you come to the piano?
Well, in our family, the piano, it was just culturally what we do. You know, I came from a family, I've got 4 siblings, and we all took piano lessons. That was just, my dad played piano growing up. It was just kind of like taking dance classes, taking
So it was
piano
in the
lessons.
house?
It was in the house. You have to take it. That being said, we did take piano lessons twice a week, once for playing like individually with your teacher, like personal lesson, and then a very small group, you'd learn theory. So I took music theory and piano for a long time. And I liked it a lot. It was beautiful. I was encouraged to write songs when I was a little kid from my piano teacher. But along the way, I realized I wasn't really practicing ever unless I was sitting right next to my piano teacher. I still could play some songs. And my older brother, in the meantime, my brother Ben Loeb, was becoming like a professional pianist. He was playing all these huge competitions and he was amazing. And I think my heart started going more in I think I want to play an instrument that I hear more on the music that I like listening to.
And an instrument that could be yours.
They could be, yeah. I mean, in retrospect, mine, but also I think I just never practiced. And I really wanted to be like the band The Police, you know, Stuart, Sting, and Andy. And my friend Margaret, I had 2 main best friends growing up who I'm still really, really good friends with. But my friend Margaret found out about The Police first, and she liked Sting the most. So she was like Sting. And then my friend Adrienne was the second one that found out. I think I was always doing my homework, like a lot of homework. But Adrienne called Stuart as her person, the drummer. And I got Andy, and Andy Summers, and I told Andy Summers this, that I got him. And I was going to learn the guitar, Ade was going to learn drums, Margaret's going to learn bass. I think I'm the only one who actually learned how to play, which led me later to meet Stuart, Sting, and Andy. And like I said, tell Andy Summers that I play guitar because of you.
So when you decided to go to college, you went to Brown.
Yes.
What was the goal when you went to school? What did you want to get out of university?
Well, I think I thought I really wanted to learn and explore things and, you know, grow intellectually and academically. I think what I ended up doing was studying a lot of theater and playing a ton of music. That was an amazing place to be as a musician. There were a lot of other people who now are professional musicians, composers, rock musicians, you might know, but there was such a high standard of being a musician in college that I felt like we had to rise to the level. We also got to record our own music in college. I took classes and we'd record our own music in the studio on tape and cut tape and, you know, tape it back together and make edits. Old school, we'd record. I had a band that became very popular in college called Lisa.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And then also it was great because it was a sort of a place where you felt like you had to hit the high standards of your peers who were musicians, but the people who went to college were always so supportive. You know, the first show we ever did was like a packed house, and we always had such a supportive fan base, which later traveled to New York City and Los Angeles and other places where I ended up playing a lot after college. So it was a great place to focus on music. I might need to go back to study there. But it was a great place for music and arts for me and socially.
And then you made your first Lisa Loeb album.
Yeah, my friend Liz and I, who had this band in college, Liz and Lisa, we went our own separate, it was time for us to kind of go our own separate ways. And she was more of the primary lead singer. And I was mostly the songwriter and the backup singer still, just like I was in high school. So I needed to make something to get used to being the lead singer of my own songs, some of which are on my major label albums that you hear, you know, that I put out in the 90s. but I needed to get familiar with myself singing and playing. And also in those days to get like a record deal or something to sell at shows, it'd be good to have a cassette tape. So I made the purple tape.
And you mentioned, I think, that some of the songs from those recordings ended up being re-recorded later on your major label albums.
Yeah, it's funny as a songwriter, when you write songs that are important to you, I think just in my brain, I still wanted to share those songs. And some of them I had recorded with Liz already in college. And in a demo tape I had made with a guy named John Gordon, who had played with Suzanne Vega's band. And he had brought in Mike Viseglia, who's a great bass player, who also was with Suzanne Vega's band. So I just wanted to continue to keep these songs alive and do them myself and then do them again with my band on a major label.
Was there an early version of Stay in some of those early recordings?
No, Stay was really written and recorded in the early 90s. I think around 1992, I started writing it, or 93.
Let's talk about Stay. Where did it come from? What was the embryo of Stay? Where was it written?
Stay was a weird song for me because as a kid, I listened to a lot of new wave and classic rock and The Cure and Led Zeppelin and Bowie and Hendrix and Queen and all these people who sounded like they were making up stories or sometimes they were just very mysterious. I didn't want to like show my heart on my sleeve. I didn't want to write songs that sounded like journal entries. I sort of looked down upon that kind of personal songwriting. But then Stay came along and I was just literally writing from my heart about an argument I was having with my boyfriend, who happened to be Juan Patino at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Argument, and I'm writing about it and then I'm coming up with music. So part of it lyrically and emotionally was tied to an actual thing that was happening, which was against my normal tendencies. And then at the same time, I had heard through people I know at BMI, the people who collect royalties, I was a member of BMI, that Daryl Hall was looking for songs for a solo record. So I thought, I should write something, old school Hall & Oates, R&B. So that's how the groove started in the song.
The idea being to submit it to him?
Submit it to Daryl Hall, and
Right.
maybe he would do it. But about halfway through writing the song, it was clear that opportunity wasn't going to happen. So I continued to write it, but it took me to a place writing a little bit of a groove that I would have not typically written. I do love writing little guitar licks into my songs. That's something that I love doing, and a friend of mine at college would always do it, my friend Dan Seiden. So anyway, it all came together in this song.
So you recorded it more than once. Tell us about the first time you recorded the song.
I did. There were some record companies interested, and I'd gotten a demo deal with a label, and I think I just wanted to try recording it a little more rock, because I come from more of a rock background than a singer-songwriter-y acoustic music background, as far as what I love listening to. And so I asked Kevin Salem to record the song with me. And so we recorded it with the band, and we really pushed it in a more of a rock direction. It's funny, I remember writing down my mix notes on a greasy and oily paper plate.
You gave a copy of the song to Ethan Hawke, who was a neighbor.
Ethan
lived
Hawke
across
was
the road.
Ethan was a good friend of mine at the time and a neighbor. He lived across the street down in the Village, and I wrote a lot of music for his theater company, and there was like a big group of us that all hung out together, playwrights and musicians and just actors, and Ethan had a theater company, and a lot of people participated in that, and Ethan and all the friends would come see me play. And so Ethan knew the songs very well, and he had asked specifically for the song Stay. And so we had a cassette tape. My friend Amy gave him the cassette tape with
So this
Stay
was
on
just
it.
the mix you guys
This
had
was
done.
the mix we had done,
Right.
and he passed it along to Ben Stiller, who directed this movie, Reality Bites, that Ethan was in. He was in this movie, Reality Bites.
Right, and that was Ben's first movie as a director, I think, as
you're
well,
right. And so Ben, a lot of people were involved in deciding the song should be in the movie. Ben Stiller, Stacey Scher, I know I'm leaving people out, Karen Rackman, just a bunch of people. There's music supervisors, directors, and
Sure.
producers, and everybody. And I heard the story that Ben and Stacey and some of the folks were going to Ireland to play the movie for U2 because they wanted a U2 song in it. And for some reason, U2 had to cancel their screening in Ireland, so they had their like big film canisters. They came to see me play at the Wetlands instead, and that really, made it happen.
Solidified
It
it.
solidified it. So they wanted this song in the movie, and then I got a call when I was temping at an office. I'm a very good typist. And I got a call from Ron Fair, that he wanted to put the song on the soundtrack.
So Ron Fair was running RCA Records.
Yeah. He was, and he had had a lot of very successful soundtracks. And he was the guy who didn't sign me to EMI. When my friend wanted to sign me, Ron was his boss.
Oh, I
at
love
the time.
I love how things come around.
I know, and it came around even again later. But so Ron was excited about this song, and he thought it was really special.
So they were doing the soundtrack for the movie.
They were doing the soundtrack.
And when they found out that there was an independent song that the producers and the director wanted in the movie, they're like, well, we've got to figure out how to get a hold of that. So
we licensed it to them.
Yeah.
We licensed the song to them. I did not sign with RCA Records at the time. I had a good team with me. I already had a great attorney I'd been working with for a couple years, and some good friends near me. And I did not sign, like good people who were helping, giving me good advice about
had
the music
your best
business.
interests at heart.
Exactly. And so we licensed the song to RCA for the Reality Bites soundtrack.
But then it was
So then
remixed.
Ron said, okay, now, Ron's a big producer as well. And he said, we need to finish the track, in his own way. So they flew us from New York City to Los Angeles to finish the track. And it was in the fanciest studio. It was Ocean Way Studio. And we had to finish the track, but the track was almost finished. But we didn't do the percussion yet. We were going to do probably tambourine. So they hired a percussionist to come in, and it was our minds were blown. It was like a $400 cartage fee to get the equipment to the studio. It looked like the circus came to town. There were so many huge flight cases, and the percussionist, we ended up using a tambourine. We did a tambourine and a conga drum, which you can hear in this one part of the song when I go, and you say, do-do, stay. It's this one little do-do, which recently when we've done a new mix for Atmos, I pushed that little do-do just up a little higher, just because that was the one percussion that we really used. And then Juan and I also sung harmonies. We finished up some harmonies in Los Angeles, but it was very over the top for something we had been doing, we thought, very professionally.
So all of a sudden you've got a hit record.
Yeah, well, yeah, the song was on the soundtrack. We had given them the rights to make it a single. They hadn't promoted it as a single, RCA Records, but a radio station down in Houston decided to start playing it on the radio. And it was Tom Pohlman, who's now the head of iHeartRadio, and Cubby Bryant, who's a big DJ at iHeartRadio up in New York. They were the ones who said, let's play this song. And they decided, and then it caught on, and then RCA Promotion jumped in and really did a great job promoting the record, and the song ended up going to #1 on the pop chart.
I mean, it exploded. That was a big song. I've only got the perspective, I didn't write it or record it. I've got the perspective of the guy who was given it and played it on the radio, and then saw the movie came out. And I think it's not unreasonable to say that the song helped drive attention to the movie.
I think it did, and it was such a bummer that I didn't have my actual record out yet. We had already recorded a number of songs in addition to Stay with Juan, and I had a ton of songs, from college and after college, and songs I wanted on a label, but I ended up signing to a record deal with Geffen Records when the song was at #1. Which is a good time to sign a record deal. But so it was, and the song enabled me to have so much creative freedom, because they're like, oh, she did this already on her own, with her people.
But I'm guessing everybody wanted you at that time.
Yeah, and also, so I was touring a lot. It took a little while to get back down to recording. And instead of using some of the recordings we had already started, which in retrospect, we probably totally could have used a handful of the songs we already recorded, we started over again. And it was a year later that my album came out called Tales, which we put Stay on that record, because it was part of that group of songs. But yeah, the song, it really took off. It was a great soundtrack. It had Crowded House and U2 and Juliana Hatfield and a bunch of different people on it. But yeah, that was the time that there was just that great relationship when albums were still being sold. That was the only way you could get that song, was buying it on a single or on the album, or a ca-single.
Right.
If you had a ca-single.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about how you record today? What's your process today for perhaps demoing and then recording?
Wow, the process, it's kind of the same as it's always been. I did go through a phase, especially when I was with major labels, and there was expectations that you should be recording in a major studio. But really, it's always been a combination of studios and home studios. So when I write, I use my cell phone. I used to use a cassette tape recorder. I use my cell phone like a cassette tape recorder to get my ideas. I have some simple recording apps on on my computer that I mostly use for voiceover, which means that it usually only has one track. And I just, like yesterday, I was in a songwriting session and I couldn't remember exactly how different parts went that we were writing. So I kept checking my phone, and then I was recording into the app where I could edit really easily to put together, sort of Frankenstein together, one take with a guitar and vocal. But what I like to do, especially when I'm recording with a band, like on my newer album, That's What It's All About, I like going into a studio and having bass and drums. And if possible, if I can play, often I do it with an electric guitar and vocal, so that if I get a good vocal, you don't hear the guitar bleeding through the microphone.
Right.
But there's something about everybody playing together that creates a synergy, and it just, if those are my favorite recordings I've done, have been done that way, and then overdubbing.
Right.
That being said, on my record, A Simple Trick to Happiness, I worked a lot with a guy named Rich Jacks, a producer. We made 5 or 6 records together. And sometimes the tracks were based on, there'd be a percussion element, which I think is so important, because sometimes the tempo and the feel of the song is what makes it really work. So if we got this tempo and we were writing to a tempo, we would actually put that down first, which is not what I would normally do. Normally I would write a song and then decide on the tempo. But when you decide on the tempo first, it really glues it all together. I try to do that more now too. When we finally got to making my album Tales, we rented a C12, and there was something about that mic, but it was vintage and it kept breaking. So Juan ended up buying a reissue C12 mic, and I ended up buying a reissue, and I take that with me everywhere. It makes such a huge difference. For some reason, it really works with my voice. It has enough bass without sounding too bassy or congested, and it has enough frostiness so that it's not bright, but it's just, it has a lot of definition. And so that mic is really important to me.
Tell us about your latest album. You recorded it with the Hollow Trees.
Yes, I made a record called That's What It's All About. And it's funny because we recorded in Los Angeles, and we did it the way I like to do it, which is how we recorded Stay. We recorded the band together in one studio at King Size Studios, and then we overdubbed. But I had done that with my Lullaby Girl record. I did it with another record I made recently called A Simple Trick to Happiness. But you get a really great energy, interaction, and arrangement when you play together. So I made it with a band called the Hollow Trees. They're based in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
They are like a kid's band, but they're really, again, they just play music. They play a lot of originals and some old-timey songs. And I was looking for the perfect old-timey band to play all the songs I loved growing up from my parents and grandparents.
So give me an example of the songs.
Don't Fence Me In.
Sure.
Mare's Eat Oats. There was a song called the Doodlin' Song that Peggy Lee made very famous. I did a tap dance solo on that one. We do a secret track that's not out yet. Here Comes Peter, Cottontail, which is old-timey. We did oh gosh, so many old-timey songs.
I love the Peter Cottontail's the hidden track, or the secret track.
It's one of the hidden tracks. And we wrote a couple of new songs that sound like the old-timey songs.
Yeah.
And for me and the band, these are songs we all grew up with. And it was fun to get inside of the songs and be inside of our memories, it really takes you through time.
It has been so nice hanging out and talking to you a little bit about your work, about your songwriting, about your performing, and your multitude of other activities. You're a busy woman, Lisa Loeb.
Yes, and you are too, Nick.
Thank you.
It's nice to actually get to catch up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.